everything. Oh, yeah. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Late Night in the Midlands. I am Michael Vara, and this broadcast is coming at you live out of the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina. I want to welcome each and every one of you, wherever it is you may be, around the globe, in the chat room, or on the phone lines. Tonight is one that we have anticipated for quite some time now. We're finally here. Gary the Mad Martian will be my guest tonight. And, you know, I've heard mixed reviews, not very much on the negative side, really, just a few here and there who think, oh, you're attacking Richard. No, not attacking Richard, attacking the lies. And, you know, we're all about getting the truth out here. And if you're somebody who claims you're for the truth, and whether you be a president or whoever you are, isn't it important that this gets put out in the open for everybody? I think it is. I think it's that important. You know, some of you might like to let things slide by because, you know, you hang on your idols. Well, me, myself, I don't care who you are, whether you're Obama or Bush or Hoagland or whoever it is. We do it like it needs to be done. So if somebody doesn't like the idea that we're doing this show tonight, all I can say is don't listen. I also want to say hello to Richard, who I'm sure is listening tonight. 858-683. Oh, that's right. We're not taking calls for the first couple hours, so I won't even bother giving you the number right now. What I want to do is start the night out. Glenn's going to be joining me. Gary the Mad Martian's going to be joining us shortly. First, I have it's close to 8 minutes in clips that they're going to run right through, something that I think that you all should hear to get us going into this. And if you haven't done it yet, you might still want to do it, and that's go to the blog down below the chat room at latenightinthemidlands.com. Pretty much explains things a little clearly for those of you who are still in the dark as to what all this is about. There's also the Richard C. Hoagland pages on latenightinthemidlands.com and project.nsearch.com. And you can go click on those. And, I mean, if you haven't looked through the evidence yet, it's not something you're going to breeze through. So I would suggest the blog for right now. And we're going to get this thing going here in just a moment. .com and www.project.nsearch.com. Go on over, become a member, be informed, and most of all, inform others. We do this because we want to get the message out to as many people as possible, and that starts with us, but it ends with you. You've got to help. So make sure you share this content. Throw tonight's show up on your Facebook if you haven't done it already, and so more people can get this truth. And again, this isn't about beating up on Richard C. Hoagland. Okay, that's not what this is about. It's about the truth. It's about so much. Again, I'm not going to sit here and waste time explaining it because we're going to get into it in depth tonight with Gary the Mad Martian. So instead of going with our usual news stories and all that good stuff we do in the beginning of the show, I'm going to just go with some clips here. Again, they're just a few minutes, and then we'll come back. We got to talk to Glenn for a couple minutes. We're going to take a break, and then Gary the Mad Martian will be with us. So, I mean, every minute of this show is going to be important to you, so make sure you stick with us. And let's get to these clips. Oh, yes, this too.
You're never gonna know till you've met this young boy, Richie Rich is his name. He's written up in the Rich Hall of Fame. His bank account is Rich is his name. That's Richie Rich.
The Richie Rich Show.
First of all, we filmed this in a Masonic lodge. Old Masonic Lodge, 18. Okay, it was a very weird place, and that's why we filmed it. You know, I have always had strong feelings that these Masonic lodges knew something and were passing on something, you know, down through time that we needed to know.
Oh my God. gosh, yes.
Our technology could be just a lot smarter than we think it is.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
And it might not be extraterrestrials at all. And I think one's got to keep an open mind and realize that
The Martian Revelator
could be using our technology for years.
Chuck Sellier, production artist extraordinaire, producer of the UFO Diaries.
And I'm really curious to get into the UFO Diaries, the show, the series that I made that I think you have an interest in.
Oh, a big interest. What is it that's so funny about this series? Because to me, I find it the most incredible ever documentary I've ever seen, for showing some revealing things that I've ever seen on a documentary.
Well, let me give you the backstory. Let me give you the backstory and bring you up to speed on how the series came about and what was going on. German television approached me and they said, we would like to do a series on UFOs. And I'd like to call it UFO Diaries because that's what it is. It's basically a diary of everything we know at that point. Now, this was, in, I think, around 1990. The way series goes is, you talk about them in 1990 and they finally get all done in 93. You know what I mean? This host set was done in a Masonic lodge in Salt Lake. It had some pyramid stuff in it and some globes and some different things that we were able to use and augment. And we did it in two versions. I did what you call an American or English version, and I used Michael Flynn was the host, who's been the host in many of my shows up until right now. And the Germans brought in some German guy who is big in German television that was interested in UFOs, and they did the German version sort of side by side with us. I never really understood what he was saying because he was always talking in German, and so we sort of did ours and they did theirs. But we did all the research and all the manipulation. And Lee Shackelford and I wrote every one of the episodes. We filmed all 13 host sequences in 2 days. We put out 13 episodes on 13 UFO subjects that gave the audience a clear picture of the whole UFO spectrum. From the first one spotted in the 40s, we flew in many of the experts and photographed them in Salt Lake City in a Masonic lodge. Those that we couldn't get to fly in, I think we made 2 or 3 trips out and interviewed and photographed the experts that couldn't come to us.
But even those documents, when it comes to the actual technologies that they were involved in, these really cutting-edge technologies, are very ambiguous. They can be interpreted in several ways.
And we had...
Then Mohammed, serendipitously, brings out the specific resolution, 33/426. And now we know there is a legal framework. So I am very encouraged that after what you will see this afternoon, and what others will see, and what they will see through the videotapes that are being made, that we will go forward with a spirit of inquiry and verification. And if what we think is there, then truly we will have before us a new world order of the first magnitude.
Elenin is not a comet.
Yeah.
And the mystery starts with Leonid Elenin himself, the guy who ostensibly first found it.
Now, that's why I asked you, because, you said Hoagland gave you these images, and you said it twice, and I was like, well, no, Richard says no, because Eric Shackelford also said, when I asked him, that Richard Hoagland gave him the images, that gave those images. I said, oh, man, are you sure? He said, yeah, 2 different times on the show I had them, and so that implicates a lot here. That's how he became involved. Chuck Sellier, preponderance of evidence, and needing to know the truth. And that's what this code in this UFO Diaries is basically saying and showing. Implication has arisen against Hoagland by a couple of people that I've been discussing this with, and intently. The thing is that if Hoagland presented these images, so that implicates a lot here.
Right.
We got them from Hoagland, we got them from NASA, and there you are. I mean, one of them's going to say, yeah, those are ours.
Which are our pictures.
Refuse to accept the answer of some kind of investigation, but for God's sake, let's investigate.
Dr. Hoagland.
Let's not just let $1 billion mission fly off the sunset and say, oh, it's too bad.
Next up, let's go to John in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Go ahead, John.
Yes, I've got quite a controversy and conspiracy for you, George. I'm sure your listeners would want to hear it. And,
let's listen.
Huh?
Let's go. Let's listen to it.
All right. You know how the face of Mars is supposed to be a mirror face, right?
Right.
So-called a trickle light and shadow. But what if I told you that from the same era that we got those images back in 76 from Viking, there are other images that the public hasn't seen that show other faces of Mars that is not that face in Cydonia, but share similar characteristics and structure. And believe it or not, this is seen in the video. You want to hear more about it? I mean, you wouldn't believe the conspiracy behind this.
Well, I tell you what, you can email it if you're going to tell me about the video, just so we can check it out.
It's called UFO Diaries. Hoagland's in it. And as a matter of fact, I'm calling them out here now. I can't believe it was you at Mars Revealer.
I've seen that. I've seen that. Indeed, I have. So that's nothing new.
Say, listen, Richard, I have another question.
Okay.
Just don't take it wrong. Richard, have you ever withheld important information from the people who are trying to find out the truth?
Sure. Of course.
You have?
Yeah, of course.
And what is that an okay thing
criteria?
to do? Pardon?
Do you want to know my criteria?
Yes.
When I'm uncertain. Why get everybody excited about something when the numbers don't pan out and you're uncertain yourself as to whether it's going to happen or not? If I wasn't really kind of confident that this is going to happen, I wouldn't have opened my mouth. I understand exactly what credibility is.
Richard Hoagland's study team may have uncovered proof that one of our oldest relics was not built by human hands.
And as I began looking at some references and books and talking with colleagues, this was a sketch done by Shannon, one of our early artists in the team.
First of all, we filmed this in a Masonic lodge. Old Masonic lodge built in the 1800s, okay? It was a very weird place, and that's why we filmed it. You know, I have always had strong feelings that these Masonic lodges knew something and were passing on something, you know, down through time that we needed to know.
All right, so there we go. That's a little bit of clippage we wanted to share with you. And now with me is Glenn Kennedy. Glenn, welcome aboard, my friend.
Hi, Michael. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Am I coming in okay today?
Yes, sir, you are.
Well, very good. I want to welcome everybody that's new to the show tonight. I know we do have a lot of new listeners on the line, and I want to go over a couple of things before we get started. You know, one thing I definitely encourage everybody to do is join the websites. It's very important. We have shows just as important as this show is tonight, every night of the week, 7 days a week. And the only way you get notified is by joining the site. And you can see a little Join Now button up in the upper right side of both websites, Late Night in the Midlands and project.insearch.com. And I do want to mention two very important pages that I want to make sure that everybody listening checks out sometime tonight. One is our free energy page. You know, like Michael said, we're not here to tear down Richard Hoagland. We've got some very serious concerns that do need to be addressed by this man. And that's why we really brought this out. You know, we don't wish the man any harm. You know, he's been out there a long time. But when we started digging into this story and actually looked at his emails, I think there's no question that he is hiding stuff. And he did admit to Gary that he has hidden many images of Mars. And that kind of makes us mad because, you know, we're all in this to get the truth. We're not here to suppress the truth. Michael and I, one of the big things that we're all into is free energy. You know, and quite frankly, you know, Richard Hoagland has, his site's been out there, you know, what's it been out there, Mike, almost since the very beginning of the Internet, I think. And already our sites are pushing more traffic. And what that means is that me and Michael work very hard with very little resources. So if you do have the ability to donate, I ask you to please donate to both sites or either one of the sites, actually. You can choose because it all goes to the kitty, so to speak. So go use the donate button on the sites and go to that free energy page, because we have a 2,200-page ebook that actually goes through and shows you how free energy is being used around the planet right now. Mike, as you're aware, there's been over 9 people, according to the book's author, that we'll be having on a future show very shortly, that have actually got generators running on water. So we're not here to tear people down. This is the first show that we've actually really exposed somebody, but it had to be done because we've got a man that's called for a new world order. And that's the other thing that upsets Michael and I. And I don't know if you've got to play this clip later, Mike, but the love that this man, Hoagland, has for Obama is absolutely disgusting in my mind. Here we have Obama, who basically is, a puppet for the New World Order. He's called for a New World Order, the same as Richard, and he's sitting there telling us how Obama is here to save us. And, of course, we've got him on the videos saying that he's not of the same bloodline as the Bushes and the scumbag Clintons and so forth. He's saying that he's one of us. He's here to save the day, so to speak. That right there shows me that the guy's head isn't screwed on right. Plus, you throw in the Masonic ties that we've caught him in and calling for the New World Order, and then all the issues that you're going to hear about with Gary. That's my big concern is, Mike, me and you, there's no way we would ever do this to somebody. I mean, literally destroy a family, try to break up a family, try to put somebody in a mental hospital where they can be shot up with drugs. These are all things that we're going to be talking about tonight. But we do want to just briefly state, go to that free energy thing, and, if you're a member of the site, you'll get that book free of charge, because, we're not like Richard. We don't charge to get in our chat rooms and this ridiculous nature of the Enterprise mission site where he basically has to be the overlord over there. We're here to help humanity. And that brings another point. Michael and I have both tried to share 2 pages that we try to share with everybody. One is our Dr. Colwell page. We encourage everybody to click on that page also, especially if you know anybody with cancer. We have a special relationship with Dr. Colwell. I was fortunate enough to see his last seminar that he just gave. The man has cured over 35,000 people of cancer. So, side issue here, but basically Michael and I have tried to share this information on Richard Hoagland's wall, and Mike, I guess he erased it. I guess he doesn't want free energy and cancer cures to be shared with his fans. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and that was before this show was even put together. So,
That's right.
He's, so if you're really for free energy, if you're really for the people, why would that bother you? I get rid of people like that. On Facebook, no matter where it is. If you have something against a post about cures for diseases like cancer and free energy, then what's the use of even having you as a friend? Because we already don't agree. And he deleted it, and he's evil. I don't care what anybody says. When this all first started, Glenn, I came on the record as saying I don't know. I don't know. I'd give Richard a chance, and I gave him several opportunities to come on the program and defend himself. But he's done that by running and hiding, by deleting anybody who gets on his page and asks him about UFO diaries. I've received emails from him. Of course, he used another name, but it was him, saying if you ever want me on your show, then you won't have Gary on your show. Why would you go to those extents?
Right.
And then he tried to say at one point that, why should I defend myself when you won't tell me who it is? It's like I've told you 50 times, and I even sent him the copies of the messages. I was like, here you go. Here's the proof I sent it to you. And then he ignored it. So it's just the way, I don't know. When you run and hide and you won't even answer, I guess he wants the soft questions that he's used to getting on radio shows. He doesn't want the tough questions that actually lead to truth rather than drip, drip, drip.
Well, here's here's my whole thing about the issue, and like I said, we're not here to tear him down, so to speak. We're here to expose some things that he needs to apologize for and he needs to make right. One of the most disturbing things that I was made aware of is because Gary had a close relationship with him at one point, they got to know each other pretty well, and Richard made it be known to Gary that, yes, I do have many other images of Mars that I've never shared with anybody. Now, that sounds like a Mason. That sounds like a gatekeeper. That sounds like a New World Order piece of trash that's hiding information. Michael and I are doing the best we can. And what really made us mad is when Richard came on the sites or late night and basically used the pseudonym Truth Sword, which of course ties back to Richard. If you look into the data, you'll see that name, Truth Sword. But that's another story. But then he basically said that our sites are rinky-dink. Okay, let me tell you something, Richard. You might want to go to Alexa, because I'll tell you what, nsearch.com is smacking you in the face right now in traffic. That's just nsearch.com. Project nsearch is dominating you. You add late night in the Midlands to it, and we're just crushing you. And that's with sites that have been around less than 2 years, basically, in full force. We've got over 10,000 members when you add them together. They're passionate people. They go out there and they share the information. Richard, I know you're listening, or you will listen. I want to just say this to you, buddy. I'm going to tell you this right now. You're not going to get your New World Order that you called for in your little speech to the UN. Michael and I and all the people of the world will make sure that you do not get that New World Order that you so dearly want. And you not sharing these images, that just shows me what kind of person you are. Because if Michael and I had the images, we would share them with everybody. Just like we shared, Mike, over 50,000 people have gone to our free energy page and our Dr. Colwell page and found out about that anybody can be cured of cancer. Do we charge for this? Not a penny.
No, and we could have made that a paid section of the site. The truth is, we have no paid sections to our site. We ask you to donate, but we don't charge. The truth should be free because it does set you free, and that's my motto with it all.
Well, absolutely, and that's just I wanted everybody to know that definitely check out these other sections on our site and join the sites, donate if you can. But here, we're not just about the money, because we tell people we know it's tough out there. And that's why we encourage people, if you don't have any money to donate, we understand. But what we do ask you is to get involved. How do you get involved? It's real easy. You join the sites, you go to content that you like, and you hit that like button, you hit that share button at the bottom of every video and every blog post. In fact, all of you right now listening should be sharing the Richard Hoagland blog post right at the top of the blog section of both our sites so that we can get this information out. Richard, you caused a lot of harm to a family. And, what really got me, Mike, is when you read through that data and you see that the first thing Richard does when he finds out that Gary is interested in these images on Mars that nobody's ever seen is that he says, well, I'm just too swamped right now to do anything, so somebody else will have to do the legwork. I mean, what kind of attitude is that? You think that if you were supposed to be the #1 researcher on Mars, that you would be very excited and you would encourage him to locate those images. But of course, we know why he wasn't. It turned out that they were all his images, so he already knew where they were. They were in his little desk drawer somewhere. So, yeah, Michael and I are upset at Richard Hoagland as far as what he's done to this man and what he's done to the truth movement. And, I don't know what it was about Richard, but ever since I listened to him at the first, there just seemed to be something a little off. I guess it was because nothing ever seemed to come true that he said. I mean, his latest scams were that first of all, we heard that clip just a minute ago where he said, of course I've hidden data. I hide data if I'm not sure about it. Okay, well, if that's the case, why did you tell everybody in the world that this comet Elenin was a spacecraft. If you don't say anything without the proof, how come you never provided proof from your NASA buddies or whoever else said that this was true? I mean, we should have high-resolution photos showing it was a spacecraft. I mean, give us something. But, you know, it comes about that it seems like he just does things, and, of course, he's always pushing a book or he's always pushing a conference. And, Mike, I just can't really remember anything that Richard Hoagland's actually said that really came true. I mean, of course, he says that the comet's going to fly by Earth, but, I mean, NASA said that. So tell me something that NASA didn't say. And the final bone that I've got to pick is when you talk about our buddy Andrew Basagio. Now, Mike, you've done several interviews with this man, who's a brilliant man. I believe he has 4 degrees. He's a lawyer. He's never made a dime on his story. And what is Richard's, and of course his story is that Mars has life on it now, that we have bases on there. And it doesn't just come from Andrew Basagio. It comes from many other whistleblowers that have been on this show and other great shows like Project Camelot. So what does Richard say about this man that has some, you know, astounding information about Mars? He basically says he's a kook. He's a liar. Okay, Richard, I don't even know what your degree's in. Mine's in mechanical engineering, but that doesn't even matter. I want to know this. If you're just a public relations guy with NASA, how would you even know if Andrew Basagio was telling the truth or not? You didn't have clearance for Project Pegasus. How dare you call somebody a liar that's never made a dime on his story while you've hawked all this garbage and made probably millions of dollars over the years, and you haven't shared free energy or natural cures for cancer with a single person as far as I'm aware? Why don't you put the free energy book on our website, right on the homepage of Enterprise Mission, buddy? Why don't you put a link to Dr. Colwell so we can cure millions of people of cancer? That's my message to you, Hoagland, and that's it, Mike. You know, I know you've got a couple of things to say.
Well, actually, I'm ready to get to the break here, Glenn, and then get Gary the Mad Martian on here with us. So why don't you just hang on there with me for a minute, and then we'll come back and bring Gary. You know, I've been saying enough about Richard the last month. Everybody knows how I feel about it. I agree with you 100%, Glenn. So hang on there with me for a moment, and when we come back, we'll have Gary the Mad Martian with us. And we're going to break this thing open. So I'm Michael Vara. This is Late Night in the Midlands, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. So hang on there with us.